Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Melanie here from Mel's Inky Fingers. Thanks for joining me. I'm just going to make sure that I'm live in the right place and that everyone can hear me. I hope you all had a great week. It's been really busy here. I feel like spring is kind of trying to make an appearance. It's sunny and beautiful here today in Northwest Ohio. So it looks like I'm live and I'm in the right place. The volume sounds good. So hello, hi everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining me. Melanie here from Mel's Inky Fingers. Today we are going to work with the beautiful Easter Lilies Bundle. I think this bundle is a little bit of what I would call a sleeper, meaning it's so pretty when you start working with it. It's amazing. Look at how beautiful. These cards were really easy to make, and I just didn't do a lot of fussing with what they had to offer. I mean, just simple die cutting and simple stamping and layering it on my card, and these were the results. So these came together really easily and quick, and I'm really happy with how beautiful they are. So hello, welcome, and happy Friday. Melanie here from Mel's Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to jump into Easter and wrap up Sale-A-Bration. I can't believe this is almost over. It's hard. I feel like we were just kicking it off and already it's the end of February. So when you jump on, say hello. Let me know you're here. And I would love to say hello to you. It's nice to know who I'm getting to chat with. So we have, like 4 days, I think, left to Sale-A-Bration. I don't know what the date is today, but this ends February 29th. It tells us right here on the back, February 29th of 2024 is the very last day of Sale-A-Bration. That means that your time to get free things is wrapping up. Anything in this catalog is free with a purchase. These items cannot be purchased and they are exclusive to Sale-A-Bration. They're awesome. This toolbox, trusty toolbox paper, one of my absolute favorites, and Father's Day is coming up. If you want to work with the super, super cute trusty tools bundle, you're going to want a pack of this. That's free with a 50. There's this beautiful, softly sophisticated bundle. We've worked with this together. It's beautiful for Mother's Day or for special friends or special occasions. We have baby. We have everyone covered. Baby, there's just more beautiful paper. We are going to work with Flight and Airy today. Last week, we worked with the adorable Jungle Pals bundle. Do you remember this from last week? If you missed it, you might want to go back and catch these projects because they are adorable. Here's a sneak peek of them. That's made with your Jungle Pals bundle. So lots of really, really beautiful and cute products are available to you. So today, I'm going to use 2 Sale-A-Bration items. I'm going to use the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper, which has been really popular. It has a kind of a bird and floral theme, but you have these really amazing watercolor and solid backgrounds that you can use on the B sides. Really pretty. Like this is just it. This has been one of my favorites. It's just beautiful. I think I'm out of it, honestly. And just a beautiful floral. So some have birds, some don't. They're really easy to fussy cut and incorporate into your projects. So today I'm going to use it to create backgrounds. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of an alternative colorway for this second project. And I'm going to bring in another Sale-A-Bration item on the alternative colorway. All right, so if you are a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, this is the best time of year to get your Paper Pumpkin for the rest of your year because you can get prepaid subscriptions to add credits to your Paper Pumpkin account, and they earn Sale-A-Bration items. So if you are already a subscriber, you may know this. If you're not a subscriber, but you've been on the fence about Paper Pumpkin, let's just talk briefly about it. I have to try to find where in the catalog it has Paper Pumpkin. So Paper Pumpkin is our monthly kit that gets delivered right to you each month. It is really fun because your projects are all created for you, and all you need to do is follow the instructions to put them together. And I thought there was a little Paper Pumpkin blurb in here, but maybe not. In any event, Paper Pumpkin can be purchased on a month-to-month basis where you just get credited each month when your kit ships, or you can purchase prepaid subscriptions for 3, 6, and 12 months. And those credits go into your Paper Pumpkin account, and you can use them as you wish. It'll automatically come to you unless you pause a month. But when you get those prepaid subscriptions, you can choose Sale-A-Bration items just like any other products. I renew my Paper Pumpkin a year at a time during Sale-A-Bration, and I get all the Sale-A-Bration freebies that come with it. And if you do a 6 or 12-month subscription, you even get host rewards in addition to your Sale-A-Bration items. It is the best bargain for renewing your Paper Pumpkin each year. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to help you maximize getting free products and free Sale-A-Bration items while you kind of build your order. All right. So let's dive into our projects today. So we are going to make these 2 beautiful cards using the Easter Lilies Bundle. This is a faith-based bundle, but you could always substitute in other sentiments as well if you wanted to make birthday, anniversary, wedding, any type of cards that you wanted, if you wanted a more specific sentiment. I stayed with just the bundle when I created these cards, other than I did bring in some background layers. So to make the first card, I also used the beautiful Flight and Airy Designer Series paper, which we've already talked about. So let's dive in and start making our projects for today. So this first card that we're going to make will focus more on the stamps and open dies included in this bundle. So you have both dies that cut out detailed pieces, but you also have open dies that cut out all of the stamped images. And I love that. I love when you can work with your bundles in 2 different ways. I think it just gives you so many creative possibilities, and you can even mix and match. But this first card, I went with stamped images, and I did just really simple basic coloring using my Wink of Stella, and this was the result. So let's look at what you're going to need to create this first card. So let me get myself organized here. So you are going to want whatever color card base you prefer. Now I switched it up a little bit because when I cut this Designer Series paper piece, I felt like it had a little more color in it. So I bumped up to a little deeper tone in the card base. So this one is Bubble Bath. I bumped it up to Fresh Freesia. And this is a standard 5.5 by 8.5 card base scored at 4 1/4. So you're going to want your card base. Then you're going to want a piece of Designer Series paper that's cut 4 inches by 5 1/4. You will want a piece of paper to die cut your lilies. Now I went with the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and I haven't used this in a while, but I just really loved the texture, and I wanted to be able to add a little dimension to the flowers without using a lot of dimensionals. So hopefully you can see how the flowers have, I kind of curved the petals and use my bone folder to add some dimension. And this paper just really holds that dimension nicely because it's a little heavier. It's also got a little texture to it. So since I wasn't adding a lot of color, I thought the texture was nice to make it look more realistic. So you can pull out a piece of your Fluid 100 watercolor paper for this, or you could just use some basic white or even very vanilla or a solid color, whatever you prefer. Then for this background layer, I use some vellum cardstock, which I have pre-cut, and I've pre-cut that with one of the Thoughtful Expression dies. I love this beautiful shape. It's very elegant. It adds the piercing detail along the edge. Whoops, let's flip it to the right way. There we go. It adds that piercing detail, which is really pretty. Hopefully you can see that. And I used the largest one, but you can see you've got two different shapes to choose from that you can layer behind this little floral cluster to just make it really pop a little more from your designer series paper. Then I have a scrap piece of paper that I am going to show an alternative to the embossed sentiment on here. So on this card, I did heat embossing on black, white on black, and it just really makes that sentiment stand out. But I wanted to show you that if you didn't want to heat emboss, you can also get a beautiful look by using a coordinating color. And I chose Lemon Lolly because I added some Lemon Lolly color to the flowers. So you'll see how it kind of ties it all together as we're building our card. So those are the cardstocks you're going to need. And then for colors, I'm going to use Fresh Freesia, which matches my card base, and I'm going to use Lemon Lolly and Old Olive for my flowers. I will also use black, Memento Tuxedo Black to stamp the images. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Wink of Stella. All right, so let's start by adding this background layer. But first I'm going to do a little bit of stamping on it. So I'm going to use Fresh Freesia, and I'm going to add a little more detail to the background. I really love this background stamp that's included. It's just a little distressed looking kind of tiled detail. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to ink up my Fresh Freesia, and I'm just going to stamp twice for every time I ink it. And that gives me a little bit of second generation stamping. Sometimes it's called stamping off, but it just helps give a little distressed and varied look to your background. I love how it adds interest without adding a lot of color. And that you can just stamp randomly. And then once you do that, we can add this to our card base. So this, I already folded this. I'm not sure why I did that before I put it in my envelope, but it's just a standard card base. So now let's add some adhesive to the back of this and add this to our card base. You can use your Stamp and Seal or a little bit of Tombow liquid multi-purpose glue. And I'll add that here. And then now we're going to build the focal point of our card. So let's start by stamping and coloring our flowers, and then we'll work on doing all the layering. So we're going to use our Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to ink. I like to add this to my stamp as opposed to stamping onto the ink pad. I like to take ink pad and add it to my image. I just feel like I can get a better inked up stamp because it is a fabric pad and not foam like our others. So we're going to stamp 3 different stamps. We're going to do the lily that's open, the lily that is starting to open, and then I kind of cut myself short here with a pretty small piece of paper, so I just want to make sure I can get it all to fit. And then I have the buds. So there we go. And then this, I want to give it just a little moment to dry because I am going to use Wink of Stella. And I think this might be an alcohol-based glitter. So I'm going to take a little bit of my ink and this glass mat. Don't forget, I have shared this the last couple weeks, but this is a glass mat that is a special right now for joining my team. It's a celebration offer that goes away with all the freebies. So this goes away on the 29th. And this glass mat, as well as this really amazing cleaning cloth and the silicone mat, which I like to put my adhesive and my dimensionals on because it helps me keep track of them so I don't lose them in all the mess. This is added free to your starter kit as a bonus during celebration. It is amazing. You have seen me do a lot of really cool things with ink if you've been following me. And I love putting my ink right down on it. And then I can just pick it up and add it to my projects. So I'm just picking up some Lemon Lolly ink and I'm going to add it kind of to the center of my flowers. I'm using the artist lines. They give us these for a reason, to know exactly where to put the color. And I'm just kind of flicking it up into the flower just to add a little pop of color. Now I'm going to come to these buds and I'm going to add it along the bottom. And I'm applying it with Wink of Stella, which also adds a layer of shimmer. It just makes it so pretty. And I don't know if you can truly appreciate that on camera, but I can tell you in person, it is beautiful. So now to clean it, I'm just going to take this cloth and I'm just going to wipe it off. And you can see how it pulls that yellow off. And now my brush tip is clean so that I can start my next project without having to worry about that yellow transferring. So once we have the color added to the flowers themselves, I'm going to add a little bit of green to my glass mat. And now I'm going to pick some of that up and color my stems. And I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just coloring in the artist lines. I'm not shading or doing any crazy coloring, just simple. Now I'm done coloring these, so I can just take this cloth, and that's how easy it is to clean up this mat. It's just, I can't even tell you how much you will love having this. So if you've been on the fence, or if you have a long wish list, becoming a member of my team and being a happy shopper, or hosting classes of your own, only if you choose, is a great way to get discounted supplies, and you can enjoy your glass mat at the same time. So now let's take our dies. We're going to die cut these. So we're going to pull out the coordinating dies. So we have one for the buds, we have one for this partly open flower, and one for this beautiful lily. So we're going to add those. I'm just going to tape them in place and run this through the little mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. Here, let me do this. I can't get my head over the top, so makes it a little more difficult when you can't really see what you're doing. All right, so let's add this one. And then this one. Let's get it lined up like this. And now we will run it through our little mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm just going to make sure this one is lined up before I put my cover on it. All right. The other thing I love about this mini is if you like to use your little mini Stamp and Cut, oh, this just shifted. Okay, we're gonna fix this. If you like to use your mini Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine, I absolutely love that this glass mat doesn't allow it to slide. So it has been really nice because you can just run your dies through, and this little mini is small. It doesn't have the weight like the full-size one does, so if it's not on a good grippy surface, it can shift on you, which some people find frustrating. I just keep a silicone mat below mine, and it helps immensely, but this glass mat, I'm telling you, is like, it's the bomb for using your mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. All right. So here we go. We have our flowers. Hi, Melissa. Does the ink wash out of the cloth? You know, I've not tried washing my cloth yet, but I've been using it a lot. You can see there is some staining, but it doesn't, like, it rinses out. So even though it's stained, it like doesn't seem to carry over onto other surfaces. So hopefully that helps. Does that answer your question? All right, so now I'm going to take this die cut label that is from this Thoughtful Expressions die set that's so pretty, and I'm going to build a little floral array here by adding these. But before I do that, I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm just going to break down this these paper fibers a little bit and give this flower some dimension. So I'm just using the artist lines and working my paper so that I have kind of a center, and then I'm going to bring the flower up around and let these petals curl back. And then I'll use a little strategic placement of my dimensionals, and you would be amazed at the difference that makes to your project. Now for these, I'm going to first curl them back, but then I'm going to use my bone folder and curl them sideways so that they actually have a rounded shape. And then I'll just kind of bend them right there at that stem. And you can see, look at the dimension that you can get on those flowers just by using, I don't know if it's really picking it up very well, but it makes such a difference when you put those on your card. Hi, Kathy. Oh, good. I'm glad you'll be able to catch the replay. We are creating a couple of really pretty cards using this Easter Lilies bundle, which I love. So, all right. So once you've gotten a little dimension, see how you've got some dimension added, and it may not seem like much, but when you put that down on your card, it makes a huge, huge difference. So now let's take a couple of dimensionals, and I'll show you how I strategically use the dimensionals to maintain the shape of that flower. So I want the center to be flat, but then I want my petals to remain curved. So I'm just going to take 2 or 3 of these little petals, and I'm going to put a mini dimensional kind of in the center on the back side. And then when I put this down, it will pop up the middle of the petal, but the tip will fall back and the center will be down on the card. And you'll see how that will make this flower look really dimensional and add so much to your project. So let's put it kind of offset. I want you to be able to see where I'm setting this. So let's bring this in so you can see a little better. So I'll put that like kind of right in the middle, and I'm going to put this kind of towards the bottom a little bit. So I'll put my center down, and then I'll kind of pop up my petals a little bit, and then push those dimensionals down. So kind of pop it up, and then push it down, and then you'll have that little bump in your, this one stuck down before I wanted it to. There we go. You'll have that bump in your petal. And now do you see how you have dimension on that flower? And it's just beautiful. Like that. Okay. So now I'll put a little bit of adhesive. That's another thing. Adhesive wipes off this tray like it's amazing. It really is amazing. If you don't have one, I can guarantee you, once you try it, you're going to be so glad you have one. It's not available for purchase. This is just a bonus right now for becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. All right, so now I have this partially open flower, and I'm going to just put one dimensional in the center and kind of put that over like this. All right. So now I'm going to add some adhesive behind the flowers. Sometimes with vellum, you can see adhesive through it. So I like to build whatever I'm going to put on top of the vellum first, and then put my adhesive on the back, kind of hidden underneath the parts and pieces before I add it to my card. So there we go. So now we are working on building up our card base, and hopefully you can see the dimension of those flowers. Now to finish this off, we're going to add our sentiment and the little bits of blingy bling. So I am going to use the God is Good. You could also use He is Risen, would be really pretty with the purple. There's a lot of really beautiful options. So let's pull out our Lemon Lolly cardstock, and we are going to stamp our sentiment in black. And I'm going to fussy cut it just a little before I add it to the card. And then I'll show you the two options, and you can decide if you like it heat embossed or if you like it stamped. So now I'm going to trim this. So sometimes I like my sentiments cut. I don't always like them completely fussy cut, but sometimes I will do a combination like I'm going to do now. So I'll take the parts that are even like this, and I'll leave them straight. For example, like this. Let me get this out of your way so you can see. And I'll do the same thing to the underside. I'll just cut this straight across. So I have a couple of straight lines. But now where you have this pretty script font, I will take my fussy cutting scissors and I will fussy cut that part, and kind of gives you like a hybrid. So I'll cut that straight and try to keep it even with the others. And again, notice how I'm moving my cardstock, not my scissors. There we go. So now you can just come in and clean it up just a little bit and get it exactly how you want it. If you want to add a little more or smooth out any curves. There we go. And then we can add that. Ooh, that's really pretty. I like that. All right, so you can decide where on your card you would like to add this. And since this is raised up a little bit, I am going to add a little bit of dimensional on this one side. The G is going to go over the flower. So let's take our scissors and cut a little strip of dimensional to go underneath on this side. And then you can arrange it wherever you want. You can set it down here if you prefer that, and you could add a little, ooh, that might actually be really pretty to put it down here and add your bow here. I'll stick with my original layout. So there's our sentiment. So now for embellishments, I'm going to use a little bit of the 2023 to 2025 in color jute trim. Now this pack comes with all 5 of the in colors that released this year in the catalog. And I'm going to use just a strand or 2 of the Wild Wheat. It's such a pretty gold, and I thought it went really, really beautifully with this color. I'm just going to tie a bow, and then I'm going to adhere it in place with a glue dot, or you could use some Tombow. And you could put it there. You could put it so many places. Where do you think I should put it? Do you like it here? Do you like it here? I think I kind of like it there. What do you think? Do you have a preference? And then I'm going to use some of the pastel adhesive back sequence, and I'm going to stick with the gold for this project. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool and kind of scatter those. It looks like no one has a preference. So I think I'm going to put it in the center of my flower, which is in a little different spot than the original one I made. So I'm just going to pull off a glue dot. I don't know where that one landed. I'll fold it, fold it in half, and let's put my bow on it, and then add that to my flower center, and then add my sequins to dress it up. There's no right or wrong. You can kind of put these wherever you would like. Just sprinkle them around on your project. And there, I think I like that. So what do you think? Now here's the original one I made. So on this one, I used heat embossing to create my sentiment. I stamped Whisper White craft ink on basic black cardstock, and then heat embossed it with white embossing powder, and then I used my heat tool. So I used the Whisper White ink, and then used my white embossing powder, which I dumped mine out of the little containers into these. And then I used my heat tool to heat it, and I trimmed it the same way. So what do you think? Do you like it black and white, or do you like it on the gold? On my end, the view looks really fuzzy. I hope it's clearer for you than it is for me. Does it look okay to you? So what do you think? Do you have a preference? All right. So our next, oh, I forgot to stamp inside the card. So let's do that before I put this away totally. So inside the card, I used the trust in the Lord with all your heart. I love, love, love that saying. So let's ink this up and stamp the inside. The other thing I love about this glass mat is it really helps your photopolymer stamp really nicely. All right. Oh, so Kathy likes the black. She likes the heat embossed. I think the yellow helps bring out the yellow in the flowers, and the black one just keeps it really kind of subtle and kind of elegant looking. All right, so let's move on to our second project. So our second project is another card that focuses on the beautiful dies and the detail that you can get in the dies out of this Easter Lilies die set. They're really, really pretty how it adds the cut details. So let's talk about what we need to make this project. So you will want a card base, and I went with thick basic white, and this is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch card base scored at 4 1/4. This is going to be a top fold card. Then I'm using the 3 patterned vellum, and I was looking for my, I don't know where my paper sampler went for this vellum, but I love this vellum pack. You have stripes, foliage, and polka dots, and sometimes it's just what you need to dress up a card. So we're going to use a piece of the stripe for this card, and I've cut this to fit a full front. So this is cut 5.5 by 4 1/2. And then you will need cardstock for the flowers. So I'm going with a different colorway for this project. Oops, I just dropped a piece. So I'm using Petal Pink and Old Olive. And you want scraps to die cut your flower and your leaves. And then I'm going to use a piece of basic white for the stamen of the flower. So let's do some die cutting. And again, since this is vellum, I'm going to wait to put this on till I can add some adhesive behind it, but really I'm going to have to tack down the corners too, because there isn't going to be enough flour to really hold that in place. So let's cut our pieces. So let's pull out our die set, and we're going to use these 3 for the flower. So I'm going to have to trim this down to fit through my mini. Yep, that should work. So let's put these, I can pass these all through to cut at once. So here we go. I was going to say somewhere here, I know I have my plates. Oh, I may have to turn this. My paper's a little wider than my, there we go. Make sure that they're on my plates or they won't cut. Have you ever done that before? You've put your sandwich together and you ran it through your die cutting machine, but it was hanging off the plate and so it didn't cut. I've done that before. All right, so here are all of our floral pieces. And now let's do our leaves. So we have these really cool leaves. Look at how neat these are and all that leafy detail that you get. So I'm going to cut, I think, a couple passes and do maybe 3 leaves. Okay, so here are the first 2. And now let's do just a couple more. The ones you don't use, you can tuck inside. I just drop them right inside my die envelope and keep them there. And then if I ever make another project, sometimes I have enough pieces that I don't even have to do any die cutting, and it keeps them organized. I don't have little bits and pieces laying all over my table. All right, we'll poke it out. There we go. All right. So we'll set these aside. I have lots of dies to, there we go. So now we can build our flower. So the 3 flower pieces, you just simply layer. Oh, I do need to do the flower center too. All right, so we're gonna do that kind of like that. But now let's do our flower center. I forgot about that. I had a white piece of paper. Oh boy, I don't know what I did with it. There it is. And then here is this really cool, this is a really cool die. And you can make this whatever color you want. I thought about using glimmer paper. That would be beautiful. You could use metallic specialty paper. I used white because I'm going to color. I decided to color the tips of the stamen and make it like 2 different colors. And then you can see all the different things you can do with it. So now I'm going to take my Stampin' Blends marker and I'm just going to use the brush tip and I'm just going to color the very ends. And you don't have to worry about the Stampin' Blends bleeding through when you're coloring on the glass mat. It's another benefit of this mat. So I thought this was kind of cool. You know how sometimes, oops, I missed a tiny little spot here. You know how sometimes flowers have, the stamens have just colored tips? I thought that was really pretty, and I thought it looked especially pretty to have that little pop of color. Isn't that beautiful? So now this is our flower. You can put your flower together by using glue dots or, whoops, let's fix that, or by slipping some Tombow in there, whatever you want, whatever you prefer. I'm going to use glue dots, and I'm going to take this and this off and put a glue dot under here. And then I'm actually going to use a dimensional for this. And I'm going to put this dimensional right underneath like this. And then when I put this down, I'm going to just kind of trap my flower center right underneath it. So I'm going to take this and make sure I get it right where I want it. There we go. So now my flower's all together, so it's not nearly as hard to put together as you might think. It goes together very easily. If you wanted to curl these, you could. You could certainly take your bone folder and add a little dimension to those if you wanted. And you could even do the same very gently to some of these if you really wanted. You could add more than one. Okay. So now let's take some leaves and kind of decide how we want this to look. I think I kind of want mine to look kind of like that. But before I glue those on, I'm going to bring in this front vellum layer that's going to go down over my white card base. And I'm going to stamp this nice, beautiful sentiment right on the front of this card. Now, regular ink is going to take a really long time to dry on the vellum, so I'm going to use StazOn. StazOn ink is a really nice black solvent ink. It gives you a nice, deep black coverage when you stamp with it, and it's meant for non-porous surfaces. So for example, paper, it's porous, right? Things can soak right into it. Vellum doesn't really soak in. So you can use this to stamp on glass or wood or any other surface that's not paper, and it's going to dry and give you a really nice image. So I'm going to make sure this is straight. I'll use my grid lines and find where I want to put it. I'm not over the top, so hopefully this isn't crooked. And then I'm just going to kind of give it good pressure and hold it for a couple seconds and give that a second to transfer. It's very sticky. Oh, I didn't have it inked very good. So let's see if I can recover that. Whoops. There's also this cover on the ink pad. Let's see if I can recover that. I might not be able to. I might have to get another piece and fix it. So I'm going to re-ink this up. I haven't used this in quite a while. I probably should have re-inked it. All right, so I'm going to slide this out of your view so that I can try to line this up. I need to be able to get over the top of it. All right, so let's see how I did. Slide it back into your view. I'm giving it a second to transfer. Oh, I was off a little bit, but I think you get the idea. And then I'm just going to use, there is cleaner. We have cleaner that stays on ink off our stamps, but I also just use my cloth and it rubs right off. You just need to use a little bit of pressure, but see, then your stamp comes clean. I have no issues with it. All right, so I'm not going to adhere this down because I'll redo it since it's off, but all I'm going to do is adhere this, and then I'm going to put my flower on. Oh, I'll put a tiny little bit. I can fix it later. So I'll lay that on my card front, and then I'm going to decide where I want the petals on my flower. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of my flower. And then I think I want 2 of my petals over here. And I think I don't know if I want I guess I kind of like that. You can trim the end of this one if it gets too long. You could always trim the end of it off, but it looks like mine is hidden. So now I'm going to just add some adhesive and then set this right down on the card front. It's so pretty. Okay. And I think I'm happy with 3. So now for embellishing, I'm going to pull in a little bit of my gold cord. I use this a ton, and this is from the Simply Elegant Trim pack. And I want this to be a little bit big because I want to slide it under the flower, and some of this bow will get hidden. So make it a little bit generous. And then we'll use a glue dot. Come in and pick this up on a glue dot and tuck it right underneath. I'm going to just tuck it right underneath this petal here. There we go. And then last but not least, we're going to use our second celebration item, and these are the opaque faceted gems. They're beautiful. They come in 3 different colors, and I'm going to use this coral color, and I'm just going to kind of sprinkle these around on my card. You can't go wrong. And there you go. So you have 2 different colorways. This one uses Bubble Bath and Pretty Peacock, and this one uses Petal Pink and Old Olive. What do you think? For this one, I used the same pastel adhesive back sequence and the silver trim. And this one, I used the really pretty faceted, opaque faceted gems from Sale-A-Bration. Oh, thanks, Joan. Hi and welcome. Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks for the hearts. I'm glad you like it. Which one is your favorite? Do you like the bubble bath or do you like the petal pink? Do you have a preference? I think there's a little bit of a delay today. Ooh, bubble bath. Oh, bubble pink. Okay. Some like bubble bath, some like the petal pink. It's a tie. I don't know which one I like better, which just goes to show that it looks amazing in any color. I love when you can't pick the wrong color. I love that. It makes it so easy, doesn't it? Just grab a color, close your eyes and pick one. That's what I like. Makes it super fun. All right, so here are our 2 cards that we made today. Really easy, fun cards with the Easter Lilies Bundle. That Easter Lilies Bundle is in the January to April mini catalog. So let's take a look at the inside of the catalog. And I'll show it to you here. The cards are beautiful. So it's shown on page 26. And if you get this bundle, if you decide to get this bundle, you would qualify for, look at how beautiful. I hadn't even looked at these before I made my projects. Ooh, very pretty. They used some vellum, it looks like. Oh, and they went with yellow and old olive. So this bundle, if you choose to get this bundle, you would earn 1 Sale-A-Bration item. Awesome. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we're all done for today. Any questions? I'm not seeing anything pop through. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. We have tons of hockey this weekend, tons of hockey. And we have lacrosse. So we have a hockey tournament or I guess that's next week we have a lacrosse tournament. So we just have hockey this weekend. A game we get to go watch our alma mater play tonight. That'll be exciting. And tomorrow night. And we have hockey out of town. So let's see. So Kathy says she's glad she got to see me put the flowers together. Oh, good. Yes, sometimes it can be a little tricky when you see the dies and you're not really sure how the flowers go together. You just kind of go, how do I do this? But it really is quite simple. They just layer on top of each other. The tricky part that took me a bit to figure out is this one goes upside down. I kept wanting to put it upright with this part of the petal up here, and it just wasn't looking right. And when I figured out to flip it, I was like, yes, now it looks right. So I hope that helps. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. We just finished up making our cards, so I hope you're able to catch the replay. All right. Wonderful. Well, have an amazing weekend. I hope you have something to look forward to, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.